Hey YouTube family, it's Humberto from GrayLaw TV. And yes, we got some fantastic news after the Thanksgiving holidays. A lot to be thankful for. We're going to get to it, and I'm just, again, so excited, for 2021. We have a lot of new policies with the new administration, and let me go forward. I've been getting a lot of questions on how do I make an inquiry on my case. Very important. At the end of this video, I'm going to give you the links exactly where you need to go, to make an inquiry on your case, because things are slow now, right? The consulates are reopening, USCIS is behind, the district offices are behind. So I'm going to give you exact links how you can inquire on your case, which hopefully will be helpful to you. We also have something new that's coming. It's called Super Chat. And we're going to be able to chat in real time. When we have our premieres and I release the video, you're going to be able to talk to me live for a half hour. So look for that Super Chat, folks, okay? And there's also a frequently asked question section that we've created that is phenomenal, okay? You go to it, look at all the questions that everyone has, everyone asks all the time. It links you right to the video so you can have those questions answered. So that's an awesome feature. It's been working. I've been getting a lot of comments on that. So, hey, take advantage of it. Alrighty, good news. Guess what? They are still waiving final interviews. I had a very, very interesting case, an old client of mine. Actually, he was under 18 when his parents immigrated them to the United States. Technically, he was removed from the U.S. under an old provision. It was called exclusion. Under exclusion, you had to stay out of the U.S. for 5 years. Well, he went to school overseas. 8 years later, he goes to the U.S. consulate. He gets an F1 student visa. He re-enters the U.S. He marries a U.S. citizen. I filed the adjustment for the green card. So at the time of the interview, there was a young officer. Officer really didn't know what to do. She looked at the old exclusion order, and I told her, look, he's fine. There's no grounds of inadmissibility. He's eligible for the green card. Well, what happened was they approved the I-130 petition, and they administratively closed the I-485. Under the new rules, if you're under deportation proceedings, then the deportation branch has jurisdiction over the case. So the officer administratively closed the case, stated that they didn't have jurisdiction over the case. Well, I appealed that, okay? But at the same time, I did something very important. What I did was I filed a new adjustment, and I let them know exactly the history, what happened, and guess what? That second interview was actually waived. Green card case came on the first case that was filed. They realized when they reopened the case through the second filing that the first case should have been approved. So they approved it without an interview, and my client has a green card. It's a bit of good news. And so, I think they're waiving interviews even with very technical and difficult cases. That's good news. District offices are behind. I think under the new administration, they're going to waive more interviews. I think we can look forward to seeing a lot of those coming. So a bit of good news, the consulates are still providing for NIE waivers. That's the national interest exemption. When you have an individual that's coming from the Schengen area, they need to have a waiver to get in the U.S. There's few exceptions. We'll talk about those. But we recently got one approved. As you can see, this is from the consulate in Germany. This is great. And so they outline the requirements, which you can't find much. And each consul has different requirements for this waiver. Usually it's economic. You have to show that it's in the national interest. My client was doing research on COVID here in the U.S. She went home to Germany to take her boards, and now she has to come back to finish some of that research, and so they approved it. Now, they approved it for a limited time. They approved these for 30 days, so you have to make the entry within a 30-day period, and you'll be good. So they are still issuing NIE waivers at U.S. consulates abroad. I've had the U.S. consulate in France, Germany, London, issue NIE waivers. Oh, in Iceland. I had one previously in Iceland. So they are issuing. Good news. If you're stuck abroad and you need to get back, that's good news. Now, Here is an exception that I've been asked a lot of times by my clients. That is, do F1 student visa holders need to get the NIE waiver from the Schengen area? The answer is no. There is a specific exception in the law where they do not need to get NIE waivers. I posted the actual law from State Department. You can read it, okay? It's very clear. F1 students are exempt. Also, what I've done, very important. So I've talked before about satisfactory departure. Okay? If you're in the U.S. on an ESTA or a visitor visa, and because of COVID, you could not depart the U.S., there is a way that you can request for satisfactory departure even after your I-94 has expired. Now, we have other videos that gives you the links to how you do it, etc. It's there. However, what I've done here today, both for the satisfactory departure rules as well as the NIE rules, I gave you a specific link that AILA has published, and it provides detail upon detail at ports of entry in the U.S. What do you need to do the satisfactory departure, the national interest exemption waiver, what you need to do at which consulates. It's a very detailed spreadsheet from AILA. I found it really, really helpful, and I hope you'll find it helpful as well. Another bit of good news. Hey, I'm on a roll, man. There's so much going on that's good out there. I love it. Naturalization approvals are coming, and guess what? The swearing-in ceremony, same day. I had 3 or 4 last week, so it's happening at least here in Los Angeles. Let's see, I think I had also one out of Texas where they swore in my client at the same time. But certainly here in LA it's happening. I know other parts of the country it's happening. Another bit of good news, extension of work authorizations are coming in record time. So if you need to extend your work card, your work permit, you can do that in these attachments that I have. It took less than 30 days. That is record time, folks. It used to take at least 6 to 8 months to get the extension. So very, very good news. I'm happy that these things are coming through. I have some real good news. So the Secretary of Homeland Security has been named. He is Alejandro Mayorkas. I know him personally. He went to school here in LA locally at Loyola Law School. He was head of immigration. I got to meet him several times through the American Immigration Lawyers Association. He's the first Latino to hold the head job at immigration. We are so lucky. Let me tell you guys, he's going to implement some unbelievably favorable policies towards immigrants, and I look forward to that. We are lucky to have him. His name is Alejandro Mayorkas. All right, so what I've promised is I've been asked over and over and over again, Humberto, how do I inquire on my case? How do I make an inquiry? Where do I make an inquiry? Okay, it's all done online, guys. Okay, it's very, very simple. So if your case is at USCIS, you have an I-130 petition, an I-140 petition, etc. USCIS.gov is the main website. If you want to make an inquiry on your case, you go to case status. If you want to make an inquiry where your case now is at the district office, you have to make what's called an info pass, okay? So it's either your case status, if your case is not yet at the district office, then it's going to be number 2, you have the info pass where you actually make an appointment to go to immigration. They try to pull your file and they give you the information as to what's going on your case. All right, so that's here in the U.S. If your case has been approved and now your case is going to be transferred overseas to the U.S. consulate, there's an intermediate section called NVC. Okay, that website is Ask NVC. You can go there, you can inquire if your case is there at NVC, you'll get the information. These days, you're going to create an electronic case status system, which is great because you get an electronic number, you put that in, and basically what happens is it tells you where you're at in that process. If everything is ready and the case is ready to go to the U.S. consulate, it will indicate that. Of course, when you go to the U.S. consulate, it's state.gov is the website. You find the consulate where your case is pending, and that's where you make your inquiry. They're pretty good online. One other thing, very important. If you have a non-immigrant visa where you are using premium processing, you can make an inquiry on your premium processing. The actual premium process link is on your receipt. And so you type it in and you make your inquiry to the website that's indicated on the actual premium processing receipt itself. I've put together links, for certain inquiries that you want to make in the US here as a little bonus. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching GrayLaw TV. Thanks for being a part of our family. We really appreciate you. I'm going to continue to give you good news. You want bad news? You got to go to the other channels. Those of you who are new to my channel, what I try to do is keep it positive, folks. That's what I do. It's part of my DNA. So I'm going to dig for the good news. I have in the past. I'm going to continue to do it. And hey, thanks so much for watching GrayLaw TV. Subscribe, click below, like and subscribe. Hey YouTube family, it's Humberto from GrayLaw TV, and we're going to do something special for you today. Courtney and I, Courtney, my senior attorney and my YouTube partner, we spend a lot of time answering your questions. What we're going to do today is we're going to make a compilation of frequently asked questions. During our videos, we spend a lot of time on the comments answering your questions. So, get on the live chat with us. After the video, we're there to answer all of your questions. We also have something new on the front of our page. If you go to the link Frequently Asked Questions, you'll see the questions and you click on and you'll go to our favorite videos that will provide the answer. Hey, thanks for watching GrayLaw TV. Click below, like and subscribe.
First, and the most important, are your tax returns. They want to see that you are filing as a married couple and you're filing jointly, okay? And they want to see that for every year since you've been married. So make sure that you don't file your tax returns married filing separately or file them individually. You have to file tax returns as a married couple filing jointly, and then have copies of those that you can then submit to USCIS. Number 2, where do you live? Do you own your home? If so, I would recommend that the deed be in both of your names and that you own it together, right? If possible. So submit documents, your mortgage, etc., showing both of your names on it and that you both own this home. Do you rent your home? If you rent your home, they want to see a joint lease. Sometimes this is difficult, right? Because you had a place, she moved in, she's not on the lease. And so if you can get an amendment to your lease, that would be great, showing that the landlord is aware that you two both live there and that you're living together. If you can get a new lease, great. Sometimes it gets tricky with landlords. They want to up your rent or whatever the case may be. For some reason, you think you might lose your apartment if it comes to light that this person is living with you, and you don't do anything that's not safe for you and your family. You don't have to submit all 9 of these things that I'm saying. Submit as much of them as possible, and if the lease is a no-go, the lease is a no-go, okay? Don't do anything that would be damaging to you or your family or compromise your housing, okay? If you live with your aunt or uncle, get a letter from your aunt or uncle. I own this house. Here's a mortgage showing that I own this house, and my nephew and his wife live with us, okay? So just something showing through the mortgage, through the lease, through a letter with whomever you live with, that you two live together. Whether you're separated or not, you may not translate for each other, okay? So you could take a friend to translate for you. Sometimes USCIS will use a dial-in service if you don't have a translator, or they'll ask somebody in the lobby, hey, does anybody speak whatever language and can translate for this couple? So it'll be a third-party translator if you take a friend with you, or a family member, something like that. So if you do that, that person has to be a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident. They have to show their passport or their green card, and they can only translate. It's so hard when somebody asks a question and you translate it and they don't quite get the answer and you want to help.
And so you're like, oh, their address, they're asking, or, you start speaking instead of just translating, the officer can get grumpy. So make sure that you're just translating it and that you've explained to the person that they are only to translate, okay? And sometimes people get nervous and they start making jokes or they start interjecting, which is going to prolong their interview, and officers don't like that either because they have a long day, okay, and a lot of people to see. So somebody, sort of professional and can walk in with you. Otherwise, they'll help provide one for you.
Typically what happens when you walk in the room is the officer's going to swear you in, so don't sit down right away. They might actually tell you which seat to sit in. They might take a fingerprint, they might take a photo, and then they'll go through the forms, the I-130 form that you submitted and the I-45 form that you submitted. So make sure you go through all of those and know all of those questions really well. They're going to ask you if you're a communist, if you're a terrorist, if you're here to overthrow the government. They have to ask you all of these questions, your dates of birth, they're going to run through the entire form. So be very familiar with answering all those questions. Some of the questions are really long, so don't interrupt them. Let them get to the end of the question before you answer it. We're going to start with the juicy stuff, where they start asking you questions about your marriage.
And question, what should they wear? Because even today I didn't know what to wear. So
you didn't? Okay.
So what do you
that's
wear?
A really good question, like what to wear. You don't want to walk in like a 3-piece suit looking like a lawyer, okay? Like I'll be wearing, if you have a lawyer with you, they'll probably be in a 3-piece suit. You want to look, you also don't want to wear like cut off shorts and like a torn t-shirt. Something in between. I would say like business casual. I would say what you have on is absolutely perfect. Something that you would wear like to like a nice lunch with people you want to impress.
The sponsorship thing is a myth, meaning it's not true. You don't want to take a sponsorship letter. You want to show ties to your home country. The stronger you show your ties are to the United States, the more likely they are to deny your visa because they think that you're planning on immigrating here permanently. You should be able to show bank statements showing that you have money in the bank, that you can pay for your flight, that you can pay for your hotel, or if you're staying with relatives, like, I have a free place to stay because my aunt is there, or what have you. But I wouldn't take necessarily a sponsorship letter with somebody saying I'm going to sponsor him and I'm going to give him financial support with their bank statement. I wouldn't do any of that. Now, if you're a young person and you're traveling to the United States for a couple weeks to visit an aunt and your parents are going to sponsor you, your parents who are in your home country, that's cool to show. You're 20. Sure. I mean, they don't expect you to have tons of money. So yeah, my parents are sending me for a short visit, and then you could show your parents' bank statements, but also show that you have ties to your country, that you're enrolled in school, that you have a job, whatever the case may be. Be sure to check out the B1, B2 video for that one, okay?
Yeah, we just did a segment on the 5 common mistakes at a B1, B2 interview. Mm-hmm. That's the number one mistake, the invitation letter. Don't bring it.
Yeah.
Don't bring it.
Yeah, I don't know why that's so prevalent out there, but
it's just a big myth.
Yeah.
And it's circulating.
I think that it's really important to be polite, to be personable, to be organized, to know exactly what they're going to ask you or what they're likely to ask you so that you can have answers prepared in the way that they like to hear it. They have a long line. They just want to get through it. And if you're disorganized, even if you qualify for the visa, or if you're rude, they'll deny it because they can't get to the information that they need.
It's one person per petition, and there's no following to join. That is a simple concept that will help you with immediate relative petitions. That's one person per petition, no following to join. That's my rule of thumb. That's how, I teach my staff, on these petitions. It can get really tricky. And so I'll give an example. So this is a real case. This is what happened. The client comes to me. They had filed the petition on their own. It was a U.S. citizen husband who filed for his spouse, and there were 3 stepchildren. Again, usually the petitioner, brings in the spouse with the kids, and the kids happen to be stepchildren because they're not his natural kids. Otherwise, the kids would have had green cards already, etc. So he comes to me and he says, Humberto, the interview was last week at the U.S. consulate, and I thought I had applied for everyone. Well, what he did is he filed one I-130 petition. He did include the names of the kids on the back of it. And then he processed through NVC. And at the interview, the family thought that everyone would get the green card. Guess what? They did not. The 3 kids did not have their own petition. The petitioner, the U.S. citizen husband, needed to file 4 petitions, one for the spouse and one each for each of the children. People don't understand that. So the concept of following to join is usually it's in connection with preference petitions and employment-based petitions. That means children under 21 come in under the parent's petition and you don't need a separate petition. But that's not the case for an immediate relative. Okay? Children under 21, stepchildren under 21, they need their own petition. So what's important about this, both on the family and the employment, there's a final action date, okay? That's A, final action date. And then for employment, A, final action date. For all intents and purposes, it's the same idea, okay? What it is, this is when your priority date will become current. At the end of the day, this is the date that you're going to get the green card. When this date gets to your priority date, you're going to get the green card. We got an example coming, so don't worry. Let me just generally explain first. You have filing dates, all right? Now, filing dates are composed of 2 things. One date is for consular processing, and the second date is for filing an adjustment of status. Why is this so important? Because usually filing for consular processing, by the time you're eligible to file and by the time you have your interview, it takes about, I would say all said and done, about a year. So if you look at the dates and you're up to date on when you can actually start your NVC process, you can start that. So hopefully by the time you get your interview at the U.S. consulate, the case will be current under the final action chart. Most people believe that if the petitioner dies on an I-130 petition, that's it. You can no longer get a green card, okay? Well, that's not true. So this particular case was very interesting because I filed the adjustment under what's called a humanitarian reinstatement. There's 2 ways to do it, right? The first way is through what's called a humanitarian reinstatement. You just have to show positive factors, negative factors. You have to have an affiant in the U.S., and you can file your adjustment. Now, immigration was confused. There's another section of law for humanitarian reinstatement, and that is under 204, Section 204. Now, Section 204 requires that the beneficiary, the person that's getting the green card, that they be in the U.S. at the time of the petitioner's death. Under the humanitarian reinstatement, there's no time frame. I mean, my client actually came from Peru on a visitor visa. The parent had died years ago because it was a family third base petition and it took a long time to adjudicate. So they were in Peru when the petitioner died, came to the U.S. on a visitor visa. We filed the adjustment. Now, here's the interesting thing. At the time of the interview, that's when the officer exercises discretion. It's a discretionary petition. So what happened in this case was we filed the adjustment. There were a few RFEs because immigration was confused over humanitarian reinstatement versus 204. My client was actually scheduled for an interview right before COVID hit. The interview was canceled, and just last week we received the approval without an interview. The green card came. There is a myth going around that K-1s are subject to this new executive order where there's a pause on certain non-immigrant visas and immigrant visas, both family preference category visas, as well as employment-based visas until December 31st. Well, let me tell you, let me dispel the myth right away. The K-1 is not subject to the executive order. So I don't know where this is coming out of, but there's many questions, with respect to, well, we're going to have our interview at the U.S. consulate, but we're not going to be able to come to the U.S. Because of this ban, because of this executive order. Actually, I call it a pause. I think this executive order is a pause because it comes to an end. It's not going to ban visas altogether. So that is a myth. So let's dispel that right away, all right? So what happens with the K-1 visa? Generally, the first step, very simple, right? Most people file their petition with USCIS. In about 8 months, the petition is approved. So that's pretty straightforward. Where it gets tricky is after the approval. So the approval petition then goes to the NVC. The NVC is responsible for processing these K-1 petitions to get to the interview at the U.S. consulate. Now you'll notice on the approval notice of the K-1 visa, it gives 4 months to have the interview at the U.S. consulate. So it's very tricky, right? You don't have a lot of time, and when you're dealing with bureaucracies, there's always delays. So what I recommend is that you put a tickler after the approval for 30 days. You don't, because the file has to go from USCIS to NVC, so you want to give it a little time. I would say 30 days, put a tickler, and if you haven't heard anything from NVC that they've sent the case to the U.S. consulate abroad where the interview will take place, then you make an inquiry. You want to be proactive.
The thing that slows down cases the most is when you get a request for evidence. That's something that everybody calls an RFE. So when people are talking to you about RFEs, they're talking about a request for evidence or a notice of intent to deny that people call annoyed, or just a flat out rejection. A lot of times USCIS will look at the initial filing, think that it's so deficient that they'll just send it back. So the first thing that I would tell you is to make sure that you have everything they want in the initial filing, every form that's supposed to be there, every document, all the supporting evidence, that you send it to the correct place with the correct fee. Okay, and I'll be giving you some resources to help you do that at the end of the video, okay? And USCIS online has a lot of checklists now. So if you were to Google I-130 checklist, USCIS, and the first couple of results that you get, it'll take you to the USCIS website. Make sure that you're going to uscis.gov and not some random person's checklist, right? And there's a checklist there that you can go through item by item to make sure that you have everything there for your I-130, and they have that for a lot of forms now. So make sure that you check that out. They send you an RFE. It takes time. It stops the clock for them. It takes time to get all the documents together and send it to them, and then they get basically a new clock. So it could really set things back quite a bit, okay? So make sure that all your documents there, everything is in order, that it's all sent together all at once. If you do get an RFE, respond to it as quickly as possible, or annoyed, respond to it as quickly as possible. If you get a rejection, figure out what went wrong, pay close attention to why they say that they're rejecting it, and then assemble it as quickly as possible and get it back out, okay? And that way the clock will start running again, and your case will be processed a little more quickly.
Hey guys, this is Courtney and Humberto with GrayLaw TV.
Yes, we'd like to give a shout out to all of our subscribers who have posted some really good and interesting questions. So basically, we are going to answer your questions live on this segment. Hopefully you'll get some good information, and we really thank you for watching GrayLaw TV.
So this one's from Isadora. So if I put on my DS-160 that I'm traveling with someone else who is my girlfriend and she already has a visa, should I take the visa print from her passport, or will they know that? So when you're going in for your interview, just concentrate on yourself and your documents and your information. They'll ask you who you're traveling with. You can say my girlfriend. There's really no need to have a copy of her passport or a copy of her visa or anything like that. And again, all these things are in their system, so they probably can see it, but just concentrate on your information, and you should be good to go.
D, wow, my interview is tomorrow and I'm a bit terrified, but after watching This video, it really boosted my confidence. That is a great comment, and that's a testament to Courtney's video for B1, B2. If you haven't watched it, you need to click on that segment and you need to watch it. It'll help your confidence. It'll help you know and be confident on what you need to bring to that interview and what takes place in that interview. So, good luck.
Oh, thanks. Okay. So this is from Manish. Hello, ma'am. I'm from Nepal. I was rejected once, and then I took my interview date again. Many students are rejected here because they haven't changed their university. I even didn't want to change my university. So, sir, I just want a perfect answer. If the officer asks, what changes have you made from your first interview? So I just want to clarify this. This is a myth. You do not need to change your university. That is not what went wrong, okay? Something else went wrong. And take all the documents and information that they're requesting. There's nothing wrong with the university. Your university is fine. It's just a matter of giving them what they're asking for and doing a really sort of nice interview where you're short and sweet and to the point and you don't look nervous and you're not giving them information or things that they're not asking for. Like, should I change my university? Would that help? You don't want to say that. You just want to, everything that you have is absolutely correct. And you just want to give it to them with confidence.
This is Hans. What if I already bought my flight ticket coming back and forth to the US, then I get denied the visa? I already paid for the ticket. Am I going to lose that money? Absolutely. You're going to lose that money. You really don't need a plane ticket. You need to concentrate on the information that you do need. You need to show employment. You need to show bank accounts. You need to show property. You need to show ties to your country. If you feel comfortable, certainly you can get an open-ended ticket that's not paid for. You can show an itinerary. That's just fine, but save the money.
Mm-hmm. Or a refundable ticket. That works too.
Yeah.
So this one is from Rivali. Hi ma'am, my boyfriend, he applied for us for a B2 visa and he didn't, this is all personal information, I'll skip on over that. But basically she's afraid because her boyfriend's going in for the visa. She already has the visa stamp in her passport and she really wants to travel with him. I get it. Take a deep breath, okay? He's gonna be fine. Everything is in order. He has all the documents and information that he needs. He knows how to answer all of the questions. He's watched our videos, and it's all going to be fine. So just give him the support that he needs. Maybe you can do some mock interviews with him and ask him the questions and see how he does, so that he's really comfortable once he gets there. Okay, so good luck with that.
So the journey, this is a really, really good comment that came in on our YouTube channel. This video helped me tremendously. Just keep your answers quick and short. Don't volunteer information. Don't lie. Have respect, smile, be comfortable, don't slouch. Always look them in the eye when they're speaking to you. That's a great comment. Very important when you're going to that interview to abide by those rules. That's great.
Mm-hmm. You should make a YouTube video. Okay, so this one is from Chris Clark. What's the difference between a B1 and a B2 visa? That is a really, really good question. The B1 visa is for work-related travel. Now, it does not mean that you can work for a U.S. company in the U.S. This is, you work for a company abroad, they're sending you in for a meeting, for a conference. You are a golfer and you're coming in for a competition. We have other segments on the B1, B2, so make sure you take a look at that when we go through exactly how and why you can come in on the B1. The B2 is for pleasure, so it's vacation, it's Disneyland, it's the, going to see New York or the Grand Canyon. So those are the differences between the B1 and the B2 visas.
All right, YouTube. Well, thank you for watching. Click below, like and subscribe. And again, I'd like to give a shout out to our subscribers. They are enjoying our content, so if you haven't subscribed, click below and do that.
Thank you. Bye, YouTube.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Hey there, YouTube family. It's Humberto from GrayLaw TV. And I hope all is well with you during this COVID-19. So what are we going to do today? We're talking K1, all things K1. The K1 visa, fiance visa. Why? Because I'm getting so many questions from you guys. Over the last 2 weeks, lots of K1 questions. So hopefully I'll be able to answer those today. So the first thing I want to talk about is there is a myth going around that K-1s are subject to this new executive order where there's a pause on certain non-immigrant visas and immigrant visas, both family preference category visas, as well as employment-based visas until December 31st. Well, let me tell you, let me dispel the myth right away. The K-1 is not subject to the executive order. So I don't know where this is coming out of, but there's many questions, with respect to, well, we're going to have our interview at the U.S. consulate, but we're not going to be able to come to the U.S. Because of this ban, because of this executive order. Actually, I call it a pause. I think this executive order is a pause because it comes to an end. It's not going to ban visas altogether. So that is a myth. So let's dispel that right away, all right? So what happens with the K-1 visa? Generally, the first step, very simple, right? Most people file their petition with USCIS. In about 8 months, the petition is approved. So that's pretty straightforward. Where it gets tricky is after the approval. So the approval petition then goes to the NVC. The NVC is responsible for processing these K-1 petitions to get to the interview at the U.S. consulate. Now you'll notice on the approval notice of the K-1 visa, it gives 4 months to have the interview at the U.S. consulate. So it's very tricky, right? You don't have a lot of time. And when you're dealing with bureaucracies, there's always delays. So what I recommend is that you put a tickler after the approval for 30 days. Because the file has to go from USCIS to NVC. So you want to give it a little time. I would say 30 days, put a tickler. And if you haven't heard anything from NVC that they've sent the case to the U.S. consulate abroad where the interview will take place, then you make an inquiry. You want to be proactive. Let's talk a little bit about some pitfalls with the K-1 visa. The first pitfall is poorly prepared petitions, where you don't have supporting evidence to support the relationship. That's a no-no, because at the end of the day, at the interview, they're going to ask questions, and the more supporting documents you have, photos when you met previously, correspondence, a lot of the text messages, emails, whatever form of communication, make sure you have that evidence to support the K-1 petition. So that's really important. The second is something called IMBRA. It's the International Marriage Broker Regulations. It's an act of 2005. It's a law. And it's a law to protect both the U.S. citizen and the immigrant. Okay, this is really, really interesting. I'll give you an example. So I had a case several years ago where the U.S. citizen petitioner had a conviction, and he didn't disclose it to us at all. And part of this process is that the U.S. citizen spouse is going to be fingerprinted as well. So if you have a conviction, you may want to disclose that so you don't have delays in your application. So in this particular case, 25 years ago, he had a burglary conviction. And part of that burglary conviction, there was a charge of kidnapping. And kidnapping precluded the application from being approved. Because of his conviction, the petitioner, the U.S. citizen, that case was denied. There are certain convictions that the U.S. citizen spouse can be charged with and convicted of that precludes approval of the K-1 petition. So what did I do in this case? So what I did in this case is I filed the I-130, I filed for the green card. Because for the green card, convictions of the petitioner are not material in certain cases, okay? There are some minimum cases, but we'll stay on the K-1 visa, right? So you want to make sure that you have all information, both for the petitioner as well as the beneficiary. The next is you have to meet the threshold. You have to meet the basic requirements for the K-1 visa, okay? Don't forget about this part. So you have to have met at least once within the last 2 years to qualify for the K-1 visa. You have to intend to marry when you get into the United States. You have to actually marry within 90 days. Okay, very important. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. This is a real important requirement. That you have a good faith intent to marry. That's going to be your evidence, right? You're going to show you have a good faith intent to marry. So those are the basic requirements for the K-1 visa. not too stringent, but again, there are certain, factors that the consulate looks at to find fraud. So be mindful of that. Next pitfall is not being prepared for that K-1 visa interview at the U.S. consulate. You have to know how you met, where you met, who proposed to who, where was the proposal, how was it? I mean, you need basic facts. You need to be prepared. You need to bring supporting evidence to prove the good faith relationship, that you intend to get married within 90 days after you reach the U.S. So the consulate's going to look at that. They're going to look deep. They're going to look in detail at that stuff. So be prepared. Sometimes the visa is issued and the beneficiary comes to the U.S. For some reason, they cannot get married within 90 days. What do? So the 90-day period has passed. Now, you can solve this if you marry the same person that filed for the K-1 visa, the U.S. citizen, then you can file the I-130 with the I-485. You can continue to file and get your permanent green card in the U.S. or your conditional green card in the U.S., depending on how long the marriage is at the time of the interview. Now, if you don't marry within 90 days, you get a divorce, now you marry another U.S. citizen, you are precluded. The law says you cannot change to another non-immigrant status and you cannot change to an immigrant status if you do not marry the U.S. citizen within 90 days. So if you marry another U.S. citizen, it's a no-go. So YouTube family, I hope I've answered a lot of your questions regarding the K-1 visa and given you some good information. Hey, thanks for watching GrayLaw TV. Click below, like, and subscribe.
Hey guys, this is Courtney with GrayLaw TV, and today we're going to do a mock marriage interview so that you can see exactly what it's going to be like when you get in the room. I'm going to play the role of the officer, Lloyd is going to play the role of the husband, and Jennifer's going to play the role of the wife. They're going to be the ones getting interviewed. You might recognize them from some of our earlier videos. Yeah. Typically what happens when you walk in the room is the officer's going to swear you in, so don't sit down right away, and they might actually tell you which seat to sit in. They might take a fingerprint, they might take a photo, and then they'll go through the forms, the I-130 form that you submitted and the I-45 form that you submitted. So make sure you go through all of those and know all of those questions really well. They're going to ask you if you're a communist, if you're a terrorist, if you're here to overthrow the government. They have to ask you all of these questions. Your dates of birth, they're going to run through the entire form. So be very familiar with answering all those questions. Some of the questions are really long, so don't interrupt them. Let them get to the end of the question before you answer it. We're going to start with the juicy stuff, where they start asking you questions about your marriage.
And question, what should they wear? Because even today I didn't know what to wear. So
you didn't? Okay.
So what do you
that's
wear?
A really good question, like what to wear. You don't want to walk in like a three-piece suit looking like a lawyer, okay? Like I'll be wearing, if you have a lawyer with you, they'll probably be in a three-piece suit. You want to look, you also don't want to wear like cut-off shorts and like a torn t-shirt. Something in between. I would say like business casual. I would say what you have on is absolutely perfect. Something that you would wear like to a nice lunch with people you want to impress. Something like that. Okay. Please remain standing so I can swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Have a seat. You're the beneficiary?
Yes.
Okay, so you sit there. You're good where you are. What is your complete name?
Lloyd DeVries.
And what is your address?
485 James
I'm
Street.
sorry, I didn't ask you. I asked him. Does he not know his address?
Oh no.
Okay, what is your address?
485 Dream Street.
Please be sure to, when I'm asking you a question, I want you to answer. When I'm asking you a question, I want you to answer. Please don't answer for each other. I'm sorry, again, your address?
485 Dream Street, Los Angeles, 90049.
What is your date of birth?
April 1st, 1996.
And your date of birth?
June 1st, 1996.
Okay, and where did you two meet?
At a
At
coffee
school.
shop.
You said at a coffee shop, and you said at school. So I'm going to stop now, and I'm going to tell you that there are severe penalties to lying to a U.S. federal officer, that there are severe penalties for filing a petition of marriage fraud, and I'm going to give you one opportunity to withdraw your petition. Would you like to withdraw your petition?
No.
No.
Okay, so where did you meet?
Well,
It's like the coffee shop is
it's
at
right
our
next
school.
to the school that we go to.
Okay, so the coffee shop is at the school.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
They're adjacent to the campus.
Okay. So I'm a little tempted to split you up and interview you separately. We do that from time to time when things don't seem to be adding up. I would ask you 20 questions, and then I would bring you in and ask you the same 20 questions to see if they match up. I'm going to ask you a few more questions together so that we don't have to go through that process, and see how that works out before I separate you. You met while you were students at the same school. So when was this?
I want to say August, September. It's like right before school started.
Was it August or September?
It was the end of August.
The end of August.
Yeah,
Okay,
end of
so when
August.
school started at the end of
Yeah.
August, what year is this?
28.
2017.
2017. Okay. Then what happened? How did you get together? How did you
I DM'd him on Instagram.
I'm sorry.
She sent me a message on Instagram,
I-
instant message type deal, and
Okay, so
Yeah.
you started talking on the computer.
Yeah.
phones, but yeah.
On the phone. Okay, so you're sending each other messages?
Yes.
Okay. And then what happened? Did you go on a date, or
Yeah, we went to
dinner movies.
dinner and a movie.
where'd you go to dinner?
It was Rush Street, and the movie, I don't remember. I'm not good at that.
You
kind of
don't
stuff.
remember the movie? Do you remember that?
That is Spider-Man.
With Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, Spider-Man was Spider-Man.
Okay.
I like cartoons.
You like cartoons. Okay. Okay. What did you like about him?
He has an amazing memory. I'm just kidding. No, he's funny and he's nice.
And what did you like about her?
She had really pretty Instagram pictures and an amazing laugh, and I mean, she's all around nice person.
Okay. And when did you decide to get married? Who proposed to who?
I proposed to her at sunset. I think we're at the beach.
It's Valentine's Day.
Is Valentine's Day at the beach at sunset, like a restaurant, or like
No, the time.
Oh, the time. Okay, so it was sunset on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Okay, what year was this?
2018.
2018. So you
It's about 6 months after we met.
6 months. That's not a very long time.
And you know.
When you know, you know. Okay. Did you feel like you were rushing it? I mean, why'd you propose so quickly?
It just felt like the right time. I mean, we've been around each other and it seemed like we were known each other our whole lives.
Okay. And when did you move in together?
It's like probably right at 6 months later, right soon after.
Yeah, right after we got engaged.
Right after you got
A
engaged?
couple weeks later, I think. I don't remember.
Were your parents okay with that?
Yeah, they love him.
Okay. So you moved in together in February or March of 2018?
I want to say February, yeah.
February, okay. So you said your family loves him. You know her family?
Yeah. I know mom, dad, cousins, pretty much everybody.
Okay. How often do you see them?
Mostly on Sundays.
Yeah, we go
Family.
there every Sunday to my parents' house.
You go to your parents' house every Sunday?
Yeah, we go Sunday.
Okay.
Have Sunday barbecue. My parents every Sunday.
Okay. And do you know his family?
Yeah, I talk to his mom a lot. His family lives in the Dominican, so I don't in the Dominican Republic, so I don't really talk to them or see them as much. But hopefully we can after he gets his green card and go see them.
Okay. What are his parents' names?
Well, his dad's deceased, and his mom is Eloise.
Eloise. Okay. And does he have any siblings?
Yes, he has two, Humberto and.
Diego.
You don't know his brother's name?
Well, yes, Humberto I do, but Diego is not really part of the family anymore, so
Yeah.
they don't really talk about him, and I don't really ask a lot of questions about it.
Yeah, we don't see him much. Probably don't plan on seeing him. It's one of those things.
Okay. So when did you get married?
It was my birthday.
Right. It was your birthday.
And what day is that? When is your birthday?
June 1st.
Okay.
So it was,
Good, you got that
June
right.
1st, yeah, 2018.
Okay. And where did you get married?
Vegas,
Vegas.
Vegas. Okay. And who was there?
It was like a whole bunch of our friends and my family.
Your family was
Yeah,
there?
and we got
Okay.
married at
Did he
Bellagio.
have any groomsmen?
Yeah.
Who were they?
Tony and Mike.
Tony and Mike. And
Good
did she have any bridesmaids?
baby. Yeah, our sister,
Her sister was her bridesmaid?
yeah, Jamie or maybe Veronica. Jamie, Veronica, one of those. They're twins, so I can't tell them apart.
You can't tell them apart.
It was Veronica. You don't know yet?
Okay. So, let's see. Did you have a reception?
Not really. We just kind of had dinner and then went dancing afterwards. We were in Vegas, so did the Vegas thing.
Okay.
It was a little VIP section that we had there. That was sectioned off. And
Yeah, it wasn't like a hall reception
Yeah,
with
it was
decorations.
nice.
and
It was
all
a
that.
lot of fun.
Okay. And
Remember my dad?
Yeah. I was gonna forget that.
did you go on a honeymoon?
We had
We
a couple
stayed
days,
there.
but we just stayed there
3
a couple
days,
days.
like after we
Like
got
you didn't
married.
go and you stayed in Vegas.
Right.
Right.
Okay. And where were you staying?
The Bellagio.
Okay. And you got married at the Bellagio?
The reception was at somewhere else. We got married at a chapel and then went over to
Okay.
dinner.
So do you live in a house or an apartment?
Apartment.
And who else lives there with you?
Just
Do you have any pets?
No.
No.
Okay. Who gets up first?
Both get up about the same time because we go to school together.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is the alarm clock on your side of the bed or your side of the bed?
We don't have an alarm clock.
You don't have an alarm clock? How do you get up?
We just, use our cell phones.
You use your cell phones. Okay. And so, do you guys work?
Part-time after
And
school.
where does he work?
He works at, actually for his brother at a mechanic place.
Okay. And then where does she work?
She works for a bar part-time, usually 3-4 nights a week.
Okay. What nights a week does she work?
Depending what's busy, it varies, but most of the time like Thursday through Sunday, weekends, and if they need her, it varies.
Okay. And what time does she get home?
Usually after 3 o'clock, the bar doesn't close until 2.
Okay. So you get home pretty late, and then you're up early.
Yeah. Just have to do that.
Okay. How many bedrooms are in your apartment?
Just
Just
one.
one.
Okay. And how does the bathroom sink work?
It's a lever, lifts up,
Pulls.
dilly, handle.
Okay. And how many windows are there in your living room?
It's one.
3.
You said one. You said 3.
Well, it's a big window and then it has those 2 side panels on
It
it.
looks like one window to me. It's on the same wall.
Okay. Okay. So are there televisions in the house?
2.
Yeah, we got 2.
You have 2. Okay. Where are they?
Living room and bedroom.
Okay. What color is the blanket on your bed?
It's
Green,
like a
blue.
blue-green.
Green blue.
Okay. And what'd you do for Christmas last year?
Went to my parents' house.
Yeah.
And what did he get you for Christmas?
I believe it's perfume.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Okay. And what did she get you?
It was like this coupon book she made for like dishes.
I'm sorry.
and-
Coupon? Coupon
You
book?
know those little books that you make that it says, kiss, a hug. Here's the dishes.
Okay.
You
Okay.
get rewarded.
Okay. Can I see your, or when was the last time you went on vacation before we get to documents?
Well, just
Well, we
when
haven't been yet. We're
Yeah,
still
just
in
the 3
school,
days when we were
Concord.
in Vegas.
Okay. Okay. I want to see your joint documents, so let's start with your taxes. Can I see your joint taxes?
You don't have those in
Oh.
government taxes. Not that they haven't come in yet.
Oh, you don't have them yet?
Not yet.
Okay. So you haven't been, okay.
We haven't been working that one.
Okay, and you haven't been married.
Right.
Okay. All right. So that's fine. Do you have a lease with both of your names on it?
Yes, we do. You have that, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so from there, they're going to go through all of your documents. Depending on the style of the officer, they'll ask for individual documents. They might say, show me all your documents. We have segments on what exact documents they're looking for, so be sure to check those out. There's also a ton of other questions that they could ask you that we didn't go over, but we didn't want this to be like a 2-hour long segment that you're looking at. So instead of having them answer, I'm going to run through some of them really quickly. So how much is your mortgage or your rent? Do you have a garage? Who parks in the garage? Like what kind of, do you each have a car? What color car? What does he drive? What does she drive? They might ask about the art on the walls in the bedroom, like what kind of pictures are hanging up. They might ask how many bathrooms you have. They might ask how many times a week you order takeout, maybe what you had for dinner last night. What did she have to drink last night? Some of the questions that they ask, they don't expect you to know the answer, and when you come up with an answer, it sounds sort of fishy to them. So like, I don't know what she had to drink. Like, she usually drinks iced tea, but I don't know if she had that last night. Is fine. If you don't know the answer to something, for example, you didn't know his brother's name, don't make it up, because they can see his brother's name probably on some sort of document somewhere, or they'll ask you your brother's name, and you don't want to have been wrong. So it's better to say that you don't know the answer, even when it's something maybe that you should know, because there's probably an explanation for it, and you can give it. And her sisters are identical twins, and so you can't always remember which one did what and when, okay? So it makes perfect sense. What television service do you use? Do you have DirecTV? Do you have Spectrum? They may ask that question. How many computers do you have? Is it a laptop? Is it, what are the computers? Desktop? Thank you. What kind of, what kind of music does your spouse listen to? Like when they're driving the car, they listen to the radio? Do you listen to your Pandora? If the answer again is I don't know, say I don't know. Like when we're together, we listen to this kind of music, but I know I listen to like my heavy metal when I'm on my own, and I'm not quite sure what she listens to. I know sometimes she listens to classical music at work, because sometimes she plays it when she's working at home. But where do you get your groceries from? What supermarket do you go to? If you have pets, the name of the pet, where you got the pet, that sort of thing. What did your spouse get you for your last birthday? They might ask about, do you celebrate any religious holidays? And what did you do for the last religious, like I asked you about last Christmas? They might make assumptions based on where you're from about what you celebrate. Don't feel like if they say, what'd you do last Christmas? You can say like, we don't celebrate Christmas if you don't, and don't feel the need to but at the same time, I wouldn't get political. I've heard some people make jokes about certain people in office in interviews, and that is a big no-no. Like, never, ever do that, because you don't know who you're talking to or what their political affiliations are. And they might ask, what'd you do on New Year's Eve, or what was the last movie you saw together? We don't really go to the movies, we watch Netflix, and I think the last movie we watched was whatever, okay? So those are some other questions they can ask. So I hope that gives you a good idea of what you're about to walk into. Good luck, you're gonna be great. The best advice I can give you is to be calm and cool and personable. If you're super nervous, they get nervous about you. So just be how they were. It started off a little rocky, but then once she slapped him, it was fine. They're clearly married. Okay. So thanks for watching GrayLaw TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Bye.